So I'm Teresa Allen, and I work for Birmingham Local Authority and for something called the Communication and Autism team. I don't know if any of you are aware of that at the moment, but so we support in mainstream settings, and we support the schools to understand what autism is and how to best support the pupils within their school. Historically, our support finishes at 16 when the pupils leave school, unless we're written into a statement of special educational needs that pupil would require support after leaving school. But that's where our support usually stopped. 2 years ago, we were given funding to develop a tool for pupils, and it was called the Worklessness Project. And we were asked to put together a support program, a tool that would support these pupils to get a job, basically, because, you know, as I'll go into later on, that the percentage of people with autism that are actually working is quite low. And I'm sure you all know that, and that's why you're here. So I started off by having a look at the research and seeing what was out there and where I was starting from, really. So the National Autistic Society, I think you're here today, aren't you? You have some people here. I started looking at the survey that they did in 2009. So there were a lot of people with autism, adults, that were able to work, but only 15% of those figures are in full-time employment, which is quite a shocking figure, I thought, at the time. And that may have changed since. I don't know whether that's better or worse at the moment. There were 1/3 that were currently without a job or access to benefits, so they weren't even getting the benefits that they were entitled to. And 79% of those on benefit wanted to work, so they really wanted to get out there and do some work. So I started looking at some examples of people that, you know, that were living this, that, you know, that had autism and weren't able to work. And this is someone called Peter Griffin. He has a massive IQ, and he's a very clever young man. You know, he's a lot to give. But his only job was being to work in Tesco's, and that's what he's done since he's been 16 years old. The anxiety that he was faced with about doing things for the first time and things that he didn't really know about, that were unexpected, that were new, that he wasn't able to predict. He found that very difficult. He was very worried that he would get it wrong. And so his way of coping was to, you know, was not to do anything, really. Danny, here's another example of somebody. He left school with a really good set of GCSEs, you know, that most pupils leaving school would be quite happy with. But despite this success, since leaving school, he's only had a couple of part-time administration jobs, which haven't been successful. So I started thinking about what the barriers are. Why can't these able young people, you know, get a job? What's stopping them from getting a job? And I think that John did a really good. He gave lots of really good reasons why these things are happening. Why these people that are able to work aren't able to get a job, or are finding it difficult to get a job. So social communication, it's the key to our success. That, as John was saying, that when we start our day, when we come to work, we have to talk to people, don't we? We have to have those skills. And like John, I'm sorry, John, I'm going to keep quoting you, but we have to know the skills that, you know, we talk to all of these different people that we meet every day in a different way, and it's quite a lot to remember. Sorry. So the person with autism may possess the valuable job skills, but due to social communication difficulties, performing well in a job interview can be really difficult. So the unwillingness, you know, because of the sensory issues, it might be difficult to shake hands, and that social difficulty, it might cause anxiety. And so people that do not understand that about someone with autism may read that in the wrong way. They may think it's an unwillingness to interact. It may come across as rude, and may be read as coldness or incompetence, which isn't good when you're going for an interview, is it? So an example that I heard about was that ability to understand the unwritten social rules that are there, that John was saying that we're not taught that at school. We taught it a little bit by our parents maybe, but we do learn it as we go along, as we grow up. We learn these skills, we learn how to get it right, and what happens when we don't get it right. So this one example that I found out about was happening in an office, and this young person was never making the coffee in the office, and it wasn't going down very well. And so I think it was Aspire or Prospects that I got this example from. They came in to see what the problem was, and this was the problem. He wasn't getting on with anybody in the office because he wasn't making the coffee. He wasn't having his turn to make the coffee. So the support worker said, "Okay, we'll set up a structure for this. We'll give him his turn to make the coffee." And that's all was needed to make him successful in that job. So that's a nice success story, really, that somebody could come and see what was wrong and solve the problem for him. And again, as John was saying earlier, that honesty is sometimes not the best policy. And so here was another example that somebody was saying, "Oh, that dress is far too tight to you, I wouldn't wear that again." And again, it doesn't go down very well, does it, in the office environment, in the work environment, when somebody says things like that, it just doesn't go down very well. And there's lots of things to try and make sense of for these people in the workplace. Okay, so I started to have a look at the support that was already out there, and Aspire, which is part of Autism West Midlands, offers some really good support for the young people in Birmingham. But that starts at 18, which is another difficulty, really. It starts, so 2 years after they've left school. If they haven't been to a sixth form school, then that's happening for 2 years. So I wanted to see what we could do to support them in school, and what we could do to help teachers and staff in school to see these people as a whole person, and to think about when they leave school and what they've got ahead of them, and not just focusing on getting their GCSEs and that sort of thing. So one of the problems that they were saying is that some of the people that they work with don't understand what the benefits of work are. And work is difficult sometimes, isn't it? And that there are benefits to it. And like John was saying, that we're motivated to work for different reasons. And sorry, John, I do keep going back to you. But it's about thinking about the world of work and motivating the people to, why it's good to have a job, why it's good to work. And to think about each person as an individual. So just because one person with autism finds one thing difficult, it doesn't mean that every person with autism will find that thing difficult. So to really think about that individual and take into consideration what their barriers are, their own personal barriers. And things like different places of work require different skills. So working in education, there's a very set way of working that we have to behave in a certain way. One young boy went to do work experience in a garage, and working in a garage is very different to being at school, isn't it? And so he came back and he was really upset. He said, they were swearing, they were saying all these terrible words, and they're not allowed to do that. And he found that really difficult to, why are they behaving in this way? I'm not used to this, and that's not allowed. Because he's not allowed. He gets into trouble quite a lot at school for swearing, and so he didn't understand those two different ways of working. So again, it's just looking at the individual and what they want to do and what's important in that workplace setting. A lot of the young people that I support want to work in the RAF or the Army. And I don't know if this has changed, but as far as I'm aware, that if you have a diagnosis of autism, of Asperger's, or you're taking medication, then they don't employ you. So knowing that from an early age is useful. You need to have those facts as early as possible. Travelling to work is a very difficult thing for lots of people. There are lots of things to battle with, if you like. So there's the sensory issues, and there's the people, all that social interaction that you have to do. So before you even get to work, before you even get to the job interview, there's all of those things that people with autism have to manage on a day-to-day basis. Again, it's just to start thinking about different ways that they can get to work. Okay, so they said to think about all the basic skills that we need, really. So time management is a big one. And providing real experience of work, so that the pupils that we're supporting in school, to make sure that they get a valuable work experience, that it isn't just in the school office or the school library, that, you know, they're getting something that's relevant to what they want to do, relevant to their interest, and they're getting a good idea of all those other things, so the social interaction and, well, just dealing with people, really, in a workplace. Thinking about how to make a good impression and to practice interviews. So the game that Pete was talking about earlier, we're looking at using that within the programme, because I think it's really, really good at just having that practice in that safe setting, and then being able to be prepared on the day. There's somebody gave me an example of it's somebody that works in our team, and she said that her nephew, again, he's very bright and he's got a really good set of GCSEs and A-levels, and they prepared him for a summer job interview, John Lewis, I think it was, and they did lots of practice with the handshaking, and he found eye contact difficult, but they said, you know, focus on the top of your forehead and that will help you get through, and that sort of thing. And he did very well, and at the end of the interview he was offered the job. And they said, you've done so well, we'd like to offer you a permanent job with us at John Lewis. And how do you feel about that? And he said, oh no, I wouldn't want to work here permanently, I'll get really bored. And it was such a shame. So he didn't get the job. So, and it's just thinking, like, you know, like John says, it's just thinking about every single step, every single stage to be prepared and to practice and to talk through. Disclosure about your diagnosis, and I mean, that's very individual choice, and getting support around that, and what autism means for that person, and the things that they find difficult and the things they need support with, and having somebody in that workplace that is there as a key member of support, and that they can go to if they need help. Okay, so social skills at work is, again, as John was saying, the different people that you talk to in the working environment, you have very different conversations, and again, it was another example from Aspire that, you know, the pupils or the people that we work with, you know, they need some encouragement not to tell their boss to F off when they don't think they've had a good idea. She said it's not very good, it doesn't go down very well. And we encourage them to think it and don't say it, which is what we have to do if we want to keep our job. And to practice the greetings and the small talk. There's again a young man that I supported in his work experience in a library, and that's something he wanted to do. He wanted to be a librarian, and he was very, very good. And it came to lunchtime, and he sat down in lunch break, and he just ate his dinner and went back to work, and it was 5 minutes he had for lunch. And he just didn't see, well, why do I need to sit here and talk to you? Well, you know, I've come here to do a job, I've eaten my lunch, and now I'm going back to work. So it's just, again, it's all different rules, and thinking about, you know, what's important for that person. And just to support the young people, to know that even if you find working with people or being with other people very difficult, then to be able to work in any job, there will always be a situation. It's very difficult to work completely isolated. There will always be a situation where you need to talk to somebody, whether it's on the phone, you know, meeting people in reception. And it's about, you know, practicing those skills in a safe environment before they go out into the workplace. And helping them to understand the process of getting a job. So there's a young man that I supported that we talked about what job he would like to do when he leaves school, and he wants to be a racing car driver. And again, that's around his special interest from playing the racing car games. And he had no idea. He's in year 11, he's about to leave school, and he had no idea of the process of getting a job. He doesn't like being in a car, and he doesn't like driving because he gets a bit scared. So it's just really difficult for him to put into context, you know, how to get a job being a racing car driver. But he thought he would just get spotted. Someone will spot me and they'll want me to work for them and that. So we had to work around that and talk about, well, how you would get a job like that. So again, it's just not assuming, like John says, not assuming that the people would know how to do those things. It's about talking it through with them. Okay, so from all that, I developed a Pathway to Work programme, which we've started using in the last 6 months. So we wanted to take into consideration all of those things that I found out from what's happening already and seeing what we can do to support people in school. So I thought it was important to develop the pupils that I work with, their self-awareness of their own condition and how it affects them. And to develop a personalised pathway, so it's an individual pathway. Thank you for those people. So it's individual then. I'm hurrying up now. So, and to develop an awareness of the world of work. They might not really know what work is all about. They'll know what the dad does or the mum does or the neighbour does or their uncle does. But apart from that, their experience won't be very big. So it's to develop an awareness around that. And also to practice and to develop social communication skills through role play and, you know, and that sort of thing. And also to talk through the skills needed to access employment. So as well as the programme that I've got, I've shown you the tool that we use, the visual tool that will come up next. As well as that, there's a whole programme. It's a 10-week programme that will take into account all of those parts of the programme, the skills needed for getting a job, if you like, and they will be practised as we go through the programme. So it's a programme that can be done with an individual or a small group. And what I found has been good is to talk to the whole staff, all the staff that come into contact with these people on a daily basis, whether it's the caretaker, the receptionist, the teachers, but to think about these people as a whole person, if you like, to think about them, you know, when they leave school, and to give them opportunities on a day-to-day basis to practice these skills that they need to practice. Those are just the websites that I've found really useful doing that. Okay, this is an example. It's just a couple of minutes to go through an example of a pathway that I have done with the pupil in year 10. At first, because of his difficulty with imagination and not being able to think ahead and to imagine where he might be, he found this quite a difficult task. I knew that it would be difficult, but it was about focusing attention and making him think about the future and where he would be and you know what he would be doing. Again, so this is a really visual tool. As John was saying, it really helps to have a visual thing there. It helps to organise the thoughts and it helps them to focus their attention. I've used this in a few ways really, and it puts school into context for the pupils that I work with. Some pupils that I support have difficulties with behaviour. So there was one boy that wanted to be a football coach when he left school. But his behaviour at school was terrible. It got excluded quite a few times. And so we used this tool to say, well, you know, you were doing all these things at school and the reason you're doing them is because it's part of a pathway. It's going to lead you to the job that you want to do. It's going to lead you into, you know, your adult life. And so we talked about if you want to work as a football coach, if you want to work with children, then you need what's called a CRB, and that without that CRB, to show that you are able to work with young people, you won't be able to get that job. And so that's really helped to focus his attention and focus his behaviour around, you know, making the right choices, and there's a reason for it. And so that's worked really well for him. Another pupil who was really focused by her special interests, that she couldn't concentrate on any of her lessons. Again, she was about to take her final exams to leave school, and she just couldn't focus on a special interest was Shane McGowan, and that's all she could think about in her lessons. So we had to focus her to think about what she wants to do. She wanted to be a writer. She's very, very talented and will write books. She will do very well. So we had to put it into context. Okay, we know that you want to spend time talking about Shane McGowan, but we'll have to make sure that that's at this set time. But when you're in lessons, you need to focus on the lessons that will help you to get your exam results and then help you into the path that you want to follow to be a writer. So we used the programme to research the jobs that pupils might want to do. And there's lots of really good websites that have lots of good visual information, and it's about virtual tools and looking at, what that job looks like, and is it something that you do want to do. So a bricklayer is something that's quite messy, and the people that I was supporting, he wasn't quite sure really whether he would like to be dirty all the time and to do that sort of thing. So it's just being quite open about what jobs are about. We'll skip through all that. And again, thinking about and organising his thoughts as to his own abilities and, what abilities he could use in the job that he's chosen to do. Again, being quite explicit about the good bits and the bad bits, and to know that, there are bad bits to every job. It won't be fantastic all of the time, and to make sure that, they're aware of that from the beginning. Again, it's just all very visual to help them, think about the progression to where they want to be and what they want to do and what they need to do to get there. Okay, so just comparing different jobs. This issue is by Glenys Jones at Birmingham University, who is involved in research for autism. And she liked the pathway, but she wanted lots of examples of different kinds of jobs. But the intention of the pathway is that it's for the individual to give them the skills to research themselves and to find out themselves what they want to get, how to get a job. Not for me to give them the information. I didn't think that was the point of the programme. Nearly there. Okay, so this is just because making a decision is very difficult for the pupils that I support. Because what's the right answer, how will I know what the right answer is? So we put this together to think about, just to organise thoughts and to structure their thinking about the good bits and the bad bits to each job. And then thinking about all the things that would affect them, so that the travel to work and the sensory difficulties or social skills in those environments, and would they be able to cope in those environments? And then hopefully they come to a decision at the end. That's it. Thank you. So I'll be around all day, and if you want to catch up and to find out more about it or about our team, then feel free to come and see us. Thank you.